All right, let's go ahead and get started. So thanks again, everyone, for attending today's presentation, and to those who may be listening later on recording. Our topic today is SmartSights as the alarm intelligence suite for ignition. My name is David Nolan with SmartSights. I'm also joined by Travis Cox from Inductive Automation, and Chris Decker from A2S. All right, so today's agenda, we'll kind of get started by just talking about customer reality around industrial software systems in general, things like app fatigue, cost concerns, and adding new solutions, uh, as well as some pressure that industrial plant operators are facing to do more with less, and how there's sort of a challenge around alarm systems that sort of involves A2S, Inductive, and ourselves at SmartSights, and what we can do to sort of improve those systems in plants. So we'll talk about also the power of the partnership between Inductive, A2S, and SmartSights. Basically, some background on all three of our organizations and what we bring to the table around process automation and process alarming. Then we'll talk specifically about how the three of our companies together are driving action and results for customers around improving alarm system performance. And of course, we'll have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. But if anyone does have any questions throughout the presentation today, just use the question tab at the top right of your GoToWebinar window. All right, so to kick things off, the customer reality around industrial software. A lot of people may have the attitude that they've got systems in place in their plants that are working, so they're questioning what's the need to change and maybe what the potential costs will be. But they're also dealing with some challenges around doing more with less or fewer staff, higher performance expectations, and growing concerns and threats around things like cybersecurity. One area of concern in industrial plants that sort of involves all three of the presenters today is the process control system and the alarm system. People experience problems like alarm overload, thousands of low priority conditions, sort of flooding their system, causing decision paralysis, maybe making them miss critical alerts. Maybe there's a lack of accountability around actually acknowledging and resolving alarm conditions. And so there's a good opportunity here to introduce new solutions that improve the performance of alarms in plants. But any new solution that's introduced here must simplify, and that's exactly what our proposed solution does by targeting the right alerts to the right people at the right times. And in the long term, reducing things like nuisance alarms, decreasing distractions that operators may encounter due to alarm performance, and doing this basically to drive overall operator productivity in plants. So the power of partnerships, basically, we've got all the right people in the room here to sort of address alarm system problems, industrial control systems. We've got Inductive, A2S, and SmartSights. And this is really a better together scenario that starts with the foundation of inductive automation. We all know that Inductive has a great HMI SCADA platform with Ignition. They've got a great mobile app solution with Perspective, a very robust alarm notifications engine with Ignition, and some great data collection capabilities with the Alarm Journal and the Tag Historian. SmartSights extends the functionality or complements the functionality of Ignition by adding on a dedicated mobile alarm response app with configurable push notifications on mobile devices. We've also got an ISA 18.2 compliance monitoring and assessment solution that surfaces things like bad actors, chattering, stale alarms, and other KPI so that engineers can take action and improve the performance of the system. We also introduce a layer of data capture and accountability with the ability to record resolution notes in our mobile app and the automatic production of an audit trail of the alarm response efforts, so we can actually track and document and export KPI around who's acknowledging what and when. So we sort of are a great complement for the Ignition platform. Now we're also joined today by A2S, who is really the glue that holds this integration together. They're a system integrator with a strong municipal and critical industry focus, 24/7 support, and they do much more than just SCADA system integration. They're a full civil engineering firm, but again, they are the glue that holds us together because they've got expert knowledge of both inductive and SmartSights technology. So just a bit about our three companies. I think most, if not everyone in the audience, is probably familiar with one or maybe all of us. But A2S is a large integration firm. They've got 25 offices around the country, hundreds of people working for them, and thousands of projects under their belt. SmartSights has been around for several decades. We've got an SI network that's growing all the time of people who recommend, implement, and support our solutions. We've got over 20,000 customer installations out in the field, a significant percentage of which are in critical industries like water, wastewater, and oil and gas. And inductive automation, as I mentioned, it's a great SCADA HMI platform among many other things. But just the fact that it's installed in over 140 countries and is used by the majority of Fortune 500 companies kind of speaks for itself as to their status in the industry. So now let's talk about driving action and results in the areas of improving alarm response and avoiding downtime. And we'll sort of start this off by just going over a background of all three of our organizations here. And I'll start off with Inductive, and I'll pass the mic over to Travis to give us an overview of that and of Ignition.
Perfect. So everybody, I'm Travis Cox. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Inductive Automation. I'll give you a little introduction to our company, Inductive Automation, and to our product Ignition, and sort of how we can fit all these pieces here together today. So as we mentioned, Inductive was founded back in 2003 by a systems integrator. So we like to say that, we built Ignition was built by systems integrators for systems integrators, and the goal is to lay the right foundation in OT to build any kind of industrial application, from HMI, SCADA, MES to IoT, and much more. We've been around a long time, very diversified customer base across all industries. We have over 5,000 integrators in our program. A2S is among the cream of the crop of the integrator program. We are used by a lot of different companies, especially Fortune 100, Fortune 500, and installations over 140 countries, as we already mentioned. You can learn more about us at inductiveautomation.com/about to get more information about just sort of who we are. But we are a privately held software company. That is all we do. We only focus on our product Ignition. We don't do any of the hardware or implementation. We want to focus on making the best software platform out there. So Ignition is our industrial application platform. It's where we kind of act as like a central hub on the plant floor. We can connect to any kind of industrial data. We can bring that data in. We can act upon that data through getting that data to the right people, providing alarming, as we'll talk about here today, providing historian, and being able to get that data to people on their phones, tablets, PCs, desktops, industrial displays, wherever you want that data to go. And Ignition's an unlimited licensing model, so we can add as many tags, screens, clients, alarms, projects, you name it, you can keep adding on to that. You just need to have one license at the site to be able to that you can expand, be able to solve different challenges. Ignition is fully cross-platform, has industrial strength security and stability. And as mentioned, there's a really robust alarming system in there to basically, we're connecting to all the plant floor devices. We are largely deployed on premise, whether that is at the edge of the network, right near the PLCs, or we're doing to bring up to a centralized system at the plant. We are connecting to all those devices. We're bringing all that data in from disparate systems, be able to add context to that data, add alarms to that data, be able to store all that information to a SQL database, or where customers want that to go, so they can take advantage of that data and go further. So alarming's been a critical part of the product for a very, very long time. And it gives you a toolkit to really configure the alarms that are there. But when it comes to really driving action and going further, you want to be able to get those alarms to the right people and ultimately drive that accountability and drive action. And that's what we're going to really talking about here today.
Thanks, all right, Travis. Thanks, Travis. So yeah, now we're going to turn the tables here again and introduce you guys to Chris Decker. That's actually him there in the picture, so you can see he's ready to get to work. And Chris, why don't you tell us a bit about A2S?
Hey everyone, Chris Decker. I am one of the lead instrumentation and control specialists with AE2S. A little history on AE2S, or Advanced Engineering and Environmental Services. The company began in 1991 in Grand Forks, North Dakota, as a water engineering firm. Since then, we have expanded way beyond water, with more than 20 plus offices across the U.S. In 2017, we became an employee-owned company, and we have a large portfolio of service offerings with process engineering, chemical, mechanical, electrical, financial services, communications, and then where I sit, instrumentation and controls. We have 27 instrumentation and controls staff members between field techs, programmers, and developers throughout our geographies. And then kind of bolted on with our instrumentation and controls techs, we have 6 IT experts who help with our network design, cybersecurity, stuff like that. Our group offers 24/7 support to our clients. And we serve, like I said before, a bunch of different industries: water, wastewater, oil and gas, agriculture, food and bev. And our group can take design a system from the ground up, program it, commission it, and then maintain it throughout its entire life cycle. So we sit in between the clients and Ignition and SmartSights, where we help the client take their vision and make it a reality with using Ignition and SmartSights or whatever it may be. Our team has been using SmartSights Win901 for many years. We have many successful deployments. We have a great relationship with the SmartSights team. And also, like Travis mentioned, we've been using Ignition pretty heavily for many years. It's a majority of our deployments these days. And we have many certified staff with the Ignition portfolio. So our technical knowledge, it's the processes and the strategies when it comes to programming and implementing SCADA systems, alarm notification systems, stuff like that. So, we have the relationships with the client. We're able to create a strategy that fits with what the client's looking for. And I think this is a cool opportunity to couple the strengths of SmartSights Win901 and Ignition. I think it's a game changer for alarm enunciation, alarm response, and alarm management for our clients. And you'll see here in a few slides, but the SmartSights Mobile is a really sleek, elegant user interface for alarm management. It brings your team closer and more connected to keep your team on top of alarms and keep your system running smoothly. SmartSights Mobile, again, with the push notifications and the alarm acknowledgement, the chatting amongst your team, the visibility of who's seen the alarms and who hasn't. It's the scheduling, everything within it, coupled with Ignition is a really cool software setup. So.
All right, thanks, Chris. Thanks for the kind words. So now we'll go a bit more in detail on SmartSights. And so SmartSights is an industrial software company that's been around for decades, and our portfolio has kind of grown over that time. I think if there's one product that anyone knows from SmartSights, it's probably Win911, which is our notification accelerator app for SCADA systems. We do have other applications that sort of venture into the field of the MES kind of technology that's available in plants, our OneView analytics software, our Able digital twin and MES data collection accelerator, and our peer issue management system. But the solutions that we're going to talk about today in this presentation are Win911. Again, that's our mobile notification solution Excel Reporter, which is an automated reporting solution for compliance, alarm management, and other reporting requirements in industry. And then SmartSights Mobile, which is a vehicle to deliver notifications by Win911, as well as diagnostic and data visualization from Excel Reporter. And so the way that this integration works between SmartSights and Ignition is it basically starts with the Ignition system. As Travis had mentioned, Ignition is connected to all the data inside of a customer's plant. It manages all the tags and alarm conditions. And Win911 basically connects to that and subscribes to it by tag path, by severity, and other options. So picture the ability to look into the real-time data feed from the Ignition alarm system and subscribe to tags that have a certain text expression in them. Maybe they're a certain process area, or maybe they're below or above a certain severity, and then be able to route those alarms to people on a mobile app with escalation, with schedule awareness, with role awareness, and so on. So it's really all about taking Ignition's alarms and extending the ability to route them into our mobile app. And so the mobile app is basically a simplified solution for remote alarms. It's got push notifications that wake the device from a lock. It's got a role-based live alarm list, so I could be seeing a different alarm list that's targeted to my areas of responsibility that's different than what Travis would see or what Chris would see in the same application. And what this basically does is it allows you to just drill into these alarms and tap to acknowledge the alarm right back to the system. This works natively on iOS and Android. It works natively with the smartwatches that are connected to those devices. And so picture, getting a text message or something on your phone and then going into the HMI and acknowledging the alarm. This is basically combining that all into a single simplified workflow for the operators. And it's used today in thousands of plants across many SCADA vendors, including Ignition, and also provides a good opportunity to migrate customers, from another SCADA system onto Ignition because they can keep the same SmartSights mobile solution if they're already using it. But beyond just viewing and acknowledging alarms, as Chris had kind of mentioned a moment ago, it also introduces the ability to acknowledge, with comments from the app, the ability to see where the alarm condition is in the escalation behavior. You can see who on the team has seen the alarm, who has been delivered the alarm on their device, and you can basically see where you're at, in that alarm response workflow. It also forms a group chat automatically between all the people who are in that response group for a given alarm. People can record resolution notes in these chats. They can communicate with each other, and the data is historized. It can be exported later, for example, to standardize the response to an alarm. And even beyond the chat features that you get with Win911, there's also a visualization component in this as well. So we can pull data for given time ranges or selected tags from the Ignition system or from any other time series data source that's available in the plant. And so people can use this, say, to check on alarm conditions after they've been cleared to see if all the key variables are still trending in the right direction. It just gives you added context beyond just getting notification itself. We can also link in our app directly into Ignition perspective as well. So this isn't an either or solution. This can be combined with Ignition's mobile solutions as well. And in general, something like this tool, because it delivers targeted, simplified remote alarms on a smart device, it's really ideal for an industry like water, wastewater that has 24/7 operations with a lot of times with remote operators who aren't in the plant being responsible for problems that might happen. And Chris will kind of tell us a bit more about that in just a moment here. So we can't really talk about a mobile solution without talking about architecture, right? The architecture is designed for security, and it's designed to integrate into an existing Ignition deployment, whether that be installing inside a plant network with a single standalone Ignition system, or maybe installing in multiple different local plant networks with a local Ignition system, or installing in a business layer connecting to an enterprise level Ignition system. The key takeaway from this slide is really just that SmartSights is able to sit wherever Ignition sits and integrate directly with whatever type of ignition deployment exists, and securely route notifications, out through the cloud-facing layer, and also receive acknowledgments back all the way down into SmartSights and into Ignition, while adhering with all modern IT cybersecurity policies. Anything to add on this here, Travis? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, I think it's just important to note that, especially look at OT networks, that's where, like I said, we largely deployed. Those don't have direct access, to, cloud services or the internet or those kind of things usually. And you have to kind of go through a layered approach. And what's great is that, we can leverage with Ignition, the gateway network, to bring it up, and then have SmartSights right next to that to then kind of add that layer, to the cloud, so that any people can get those push notifications anywhere on their phones. That is going back and forth, right? That is bidirectional for that to all work. And it's not just sending an email out and that's kind of it. You're able to actually have the interaction that you're seeing there and go a lot further. And so it allows us to really kind of extend, securely from what we typically do on-prem to then, bringing those alarms to the right people, and be able to really drive that action.
Yes, much more eloquently than I could have put it. Thanks, Travis. So now we've talked about a mobile solution for delivering alerts and acknowledgments with Ignition via Win911 and SmartSights Mobile. Now let's change gears a bit and talk about another product by SmartSights, XL Reporter, which is really a reporting tool that's built around tapping into Ignition data to drive continuous improvement. And so this tool, it connects into Ignition live data, Ignition historical data, Ignition alarm journal. It can integrate other data sources in the plant, like for example, if it's water, maybe you have a LIMS system or some different data source that's running alongside your SCADA. This tool easily integrates to any data sources that you might find in an industrial environment. And it's designed for rapid deployment. So there's dozens of out-of-box templates that handle things just from basic diagnostic trends to alarm management, building energy trends, bad actors in the alarm system. So it's really a very flexible tool. One example of how it's used in wastewater is to automate compliance forms for state government agencies, just for example. But regardless of what the application is, whether it be alarm management, compliance in water and wastewater, a quality application in food and beverage or CPG, the idea is to take data in the SCADA system like Ignition and process it into the KPIs that are needed for quality, regulatory reasons, other things, and be able to basically process them and send them out by all these different methods, putting them in human readable documents like workbooks or PDF, displaying them in a web client that integrates with the HMI, pushing things to databases, allowing pull access from REST API. And of course, you can integrate this with SmartSights Mobile, for example, to use for the purpose of alarm monitoring or alarm diagnostics. Now, these are all very interesting general use cases of the product, but what we're really here to talk about today is alarm intelligence. And so with that background on what the product is, you can kind of talk a bit about how it interfaces with Ignition's alarm journal to produce actionable alarm KPI. So again, this starts with Ignition data. Ignition has a very robust data historization tool, the alarm journal. And so as operators are using Ignition tools, vision, perspective, or even SmartSights Mobile to view ACK or shelf problem conditions, all this is being recorded in the alarm journal, all the changes in state of these alarms as they come in and get acknowledged and get cleared and so on. And so what SmartSights XL Reporter layers on top of that is an alarm management engine based on IS 18.2 that really deploys in minutes. You can connect this thing up to an Ignition alarm journal and begin getting meaningful data out of it, in literally just a few minutes. And it does that by processing the data beyond a simple query. There's all kinds of easy ways to query Ignition's alarm journal and display alarm history. There are even built-in controls in addition to do that. What this does is process that history into metrics like alarm state durations, flood time periods, and more. These KPI can be categorized by facility, area, operator positions, and so on, or summarized at the enterprise level. And so once this engine is sitting on top of the Ignition Alarm Journal, it delivers out-of-box reports for alarm management, monitoring and assessment. So it'll deliver you the bad actors, the flood time periods and conditions based on operator positions. And it'll drill everything down into the area level, the process area level, the tag level, the attribute level. So it's giving you targeted information on what signals in your alarm system are creating the most distractions, so you can act on that, re-rationalize them. And of course, as you continue to run this module, you'll see the standard KPI for ISAs improve, say, as you tune out the bad actors out of the system, for example. And it also delivers some analytics beyond IS 18.2 directly. So it'll track the life cycles of alarms in Ignition and SmartSights. So you can see of the alarms in Ignition that, say, your Win 911 system is subscribing to, what does the behavior look like? Are operators actually acknowledging them when they get them remotely? How many notifications are they getting remotely? If they're entering data into the chat, or acknowledgement comments, you can export that and turn that into standardized responses. It also tracks an audit trail to see who responded and when to various alarms. So this delivers a lot of insight and actionable rationalization KPI using the data in the alarm journal. So now we've kind of talked about product and companies for a bit, but I think it's always good to ground things more in reality and talk about a realistic example of where our solutions are used. And so for that, I'll pass the mic back to Chris here, and he can tell us about how AE2S implemented Win 911 in Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Thanks, David. Yeah, this is cool for me because this is my hometown. So I got to make a pretty big impact in my hometown. So the original problem was the water plant was in charge of monitoring and dispatching staff to over 60 remote sanitary and stormwater sites from the control room of the water plant. There was no alarm annunciation, nothing. It was all happening within the control room of the water plant, and then they were using a radio or a cell phone to call an operator to the site having a problem. We were able to come in with SmartSights Win 911, stand this up on the system, and put all of the critical alarming in the operator's hands. This allowed the water plant operator to focus on water operations, and it also prevented the operator from getting distracted from water operations or vice versa. So we're able to put the alarms in the sanitary operators' hands so they could respond to alarms quicker, take care of issues. They could communicate with the team. They could see who has viewed it and who's responding, holds a little responsibility on the team for who's on call and what order they're in. So this was a big change to go from someone sitting there dispatching and maybe missing an alarm here or there to now the team has it right in the palm of their hand, and water can focus on water operations and collections can focus on collections operations.
All right, thanks, Chris. So yeah, we're wrapping up here, but we did just kind of want to reiterate some of the advantages of this partnership that we have all been kind of talking about throughout the presentation. And so in relation to inductive automation, SmartSights has recently revamped our ignition solution for Win 911. Chris has been a big part of that in helping us design and test that. But Ignition's flexible platform really manages process data that in a very convenient way that allows third-party tools to easily access it and extend it. And so that's what SmartSights has done in the past with Ignition, and we're improving now with our new Ignition Alarm Source module. But SmartSights is trusted by a large user base in critical industries, people like Chris and his customers. And we've built these relationships up over decades. So this isn't a startup experiment. This is a battle-tested platform that integrates easily and securely with rapid time to value against Ignition. And so as you've heard from Chris, throughout the presentation. He's got expertise. His company has expertise on ignition and SmartSights, water, wastewater technology, and so. And without people like him, we're really not able to to actually take the product and deliver it to the customers. So, people like A2S are really invaluable to doing anything, either with platforms like Ignition or SmartSights. And then one final point I just wanted to note here, as we kind of talked about it throughout the presentation, is that SmartSights is a vendor agnostic platform, but that does allow people like SIs to use it as a bridge to migrate their customers from other SCADA systems into Ignition, because SmartSights will work before and after that migration. But I think I've spoken enough here on the presentation today. I'll turn it over to Travis and Chris. Do either one of you guys want to give any final thoughts on the discussion today?
Well, I could start for sure. I mean, because we just provide a software platform that when you install it, it does nothing. You got to connect it to the equipment. It takes people like Chris, right, to connect to the equipment, to build out the applications, to build out the tags and the alarms, and to do that. And there's really two sides of a project. There's the configuration of getting these things in place and try and determine what alarms are important, to prioritize those things correctly, provide the right context in there. And the other part is then be able to then drive the culture, the change to actually go and to respond to these things in the right way. And that's really where the expertise of A2S comes in, because they're able to work with the right stakeholders there, get the right information, and leveraging Win 911. They're able to kind of go that next step, right? Versus having to be forced to go into a screen to see all the alarms that are there, or just getting an email or a text message. It's more than that, right? It's being able to drive the accountability and for people to be able to chat and understand what they're doing with these things. And so everybody knows who's looking at it, who's acknowledging it. I mean, when you go that one step further, it drives more collaboration of the teams. And I think this is really incredibly important when you look at building a system, because what's the saying, right? And especially with alarms, garbage in, garbage out. Like if we have a lot of stuff in there and nobody's really paying attention to it and really driving that, then what's kind of the purpose of it? And so that's really where Chris and the team have really focused on how do we drive the right conditions, the right things, so that the right people have the right information. I just think that it just really extends that one step further, and it's really kind of exciting to see these kinds of projects.
Yeah, well said, Travis. Any final thoughts, Chris, before we head to Q&A?
No, I think Travis covered very well kind of my closing thoughts as well. So
didn't mean to steal the thunder there for you guys.
Not a problem. All right, so I guess now we'll turn things over to Q&A. I haven't been checking the questions that have come in throughout the presentation, so we'll do that momentarily here. But once again, if anyone has any questions, just use the question tab in your GoToWebinar window. Let's get situated and check the questions here. All right. So one question that came in here is just around the partnership between SmartSights and Ignition, and this may have existed before I even joined SmartSights, Travis. So, to your knowledge, how long have our companies been working together?
Yeah, I just looked here, and it is a little over 12 years that people have been leveraging Win 911 with Ignition. That we've been, these solutions have been out there in the wild, and in the early days with Ignition, all that we had from a notification standpoint was just email, and that was a one-way kind of source. Voice got added on, and then Twilio and some other things got added on, but it was all kind of meant to just have that sent out and have people then come back into the system, right, to go and view these things and go on. So that's where Win 911 became really important, because the push notifications, because of being able to get the context there. So this has been a tried and true system for a number of years. And I think we're only now, of course, with the technology ecosystem program that we've got and the partnership here where we can really show these stories. We're now working together and building deeper integrations, right? With, having a module built, and we're working with people like Chris so that we can determine what else should we be doing so that it just makes the process really smooth and simple, right? We just want these plug and play applications that just go in and allow people to get more value than what they would have had originally. So it's been a solution that's been in the wild for a long time.
Okay, great. Yeah, definitely. So another question coming in here is just someone to sort of wanted just to reiterate a bit on just explaining the mobile architecture with between Ignition and the SmartSights mobile app. And so if you recall back to the slide that we showed, basically the SmartSights Ignition module can sit wherever the Ignition alarm journal basically sits in the network. So that could be in a plant network, it could be in a DMZ, and basically SmartSights will have an on-prem component or an in the DMZ component that will monitor that Ignition alarm journal, and then turn around and dispatch the alerts that are the alarms that are recorded there to our mobile app via Azure services in the cloud. And so the traffic in the internet-facing layer of that is outbound initiated, which I know is an important concept in cybersecurity. With anything internet-facing, you're not opening ports in the firewall out from the internet or anything like that. So it's a secure solution. And the other question asked,
it's also probably, I think with that, important to note that with the Ignition perspective, that's the the native web HTML5 visualization for Ignition, that if Ignition's deployed in the OT network, there it's only accessible when you're on that network, right? And so if some companies might have Wi-Fi, I don't know how, especially in critical infrastructure, not a lot of that's out there, especially because there's a lot of remote stations. So often they've got to be, through a VPN or something when they're trying to get that onto their phone or a tablet. And so that's kind of been one of the challenges. And they're not really ready to go to a cloud-based, system there yet. And so what's really important here is that, Ignition is direct integration with SmartSights. All that data is coming out of Ignition, being brought securely to the cloud for your app to work, just being on pure cellular, right? Not having to be on that local network. And I think that's where you kind of get the best play of the two worlds, because you can actually chat and identify issues, get some of that critical data without having to literally be on site or having to deploy Ignition to the cloud or have a VPN or some sort of way to get into that system. That has been a struggle for a lot of customers. So just want to make that one point. It's a really good marriage of the two products.
Yeah, that is a great point. Introducing SmartSights Mobile on top of an existing OT Ignition solution basically gives you only the alerts, piece being delivered outside the network versus exposing the entire HMI SCADA system or enabling that to run in the cloud securely